Hi, this is Peter Woolfolk. First, thank you so very much for being a listener to the Public Relations Review podcast. I would really appreciate your leaving a review of the podcast. Let me know what you think. To make it easy, you can go directly to the podcast website, and that is publicrelationsreviewpodcast.com. There, you can go directly to the review page to leave your review. So let me know what you think of the podcast. And again, thank you so very, very much for being a listener.
Welcome to the multiple award-winning Public Relations Review podcast, ranked by Apple among the top 1% of podcasts worldwide. Each episode features distinguished American and international guests who explore a wide range of public relations topics, including AI, digital trends, crisis communications, storytelling, media relations, and more. Our conversations bring together seasoned professionals, business leaders, authors, academics, and government officials and others to share their insights and expertise. Now, here is your host and producer, Peter Woolfolk.
Welcome to the podcast. Now, question to the audience. How successful was your last campaign for your client? If all went well, I tip my hat to you. If not, what was your problem? Lack of attendance? Lack of reach to your target audience? What was the response of your client to your event? Well, my guest today is here to provide the guidance you need to ensure the success of your next campaign and a look at strategy and execution. He is the president and co-founder of Uproar PR, which was recently acquired by Moburst. His experience and expertise will give you a tactical view of what is working in PR today and where most campaigns fail. His expertise has helped launch major brands, including Planet Fitness and Delsey, and he will also outline some common mistakes. So joining me today from Orlando, Florida, is Mike Harris, co-founder of Uproar PR. Mike, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to talk to you, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, my first question is, what first caused you to focus on public relations campaign failures?
Well, I don't know that, we're focused on campaign success, but I've seen campaigns fail, and I've seen launches fail. And, I've been doing this long enough to, I think, have a pretty good system for launches, for launching a product, launching a campaign, and making sure that not only that you follow the right steps, because I think that gets lost sometimes. I think we sometimes start going through the motions and thinking that, oh, well, I've had success before, so I can just throw this thing together and make it happen. And I think there's a real need for having a system and for making sure you do it right. And if you don't, you are going to have a failure.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's say that the things that you've noticed either at the beginning of or somewhere in the process of building these things, what mistakes have you seen people make in the planning and or execution of a good campaign?
I think one of the biggest things that people may overlook is pre-pitching press, right? We're not going to wait till the launch day to start pitching, right? Or to send out the release, or to start going out and getting press, because the day you launch, you want a flood of hits. You want your client to feel like, wow, I just launched and here's this massive flood of media attention, right? And I think there's a couple of big potholes that people step in. So one, look, time's on your side. So if you can start with the client, we like to start like a month in advance, maybe a month and a half in advance with building the foundation. And once we've built the foundation, we leave ourselves a few weeks to pre-pitch the launch under embargo. So you get the media member to agree to the embargo, and then you give them all the information and everything that you're doing ahead of time, and a lot of times even interviews ahead of time, so that when your embargo lifts, and say today's Tuesday, that embargo lifts Tuesday at 9 a.m., they hit publish, and you got flood of media attention. And I think having that story, first of all, following the news cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because God forbid a war starts the day you're supposed to launch.
Yeah.
That launch is canceled,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's an extreme example, but even if there's major news, it tends to push you down, right? Or give them a pause. So if we have major news on the launch day, we change the launch day because you're going to get buried in that news. And even if they do publish it, nobody's going to see it
Mm-hmm.
because nobody cares when a war just started that your new product just hit the market.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us about some of your more successful, perhaps the biggest successes you've had, because, as I just mentioned, Planet Fitness, what did you have to do or get from them, or did you see that you thought needed to be exposed and so forth and so on, so that it would get the kind of global or national exposure you wanted it to?
Yeah, so when Planet Fitness started working with us, their problem was, they would put out a press release and they would get some attention, but it was very generic stories that they were getting. And look, at the end of the day, there's so many new tools that we can use in PR, but at the end of the day, it's really about storytelling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that the problem we had was that they weren't out mining stories. They were making announcements,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, Planet Fitness partners with whoever to have new equipment or whatever. And that was essentially the crux of their campaign. And we sort of flipped the script on them and said, we want to talk to the general managers at your locations.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to understand what are the stories. Tell me about the people. Tell me about the firefighter who was off duty working out when a guy passed out on the treadmill and he provided CPR immediately and saved the guy's life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are the stories that garner like major attention, right? Hero stories.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they have a program for summer where kids can use the gym for free because when they don't have the school to get exercise and work out, a lot of times over the summer, kids just sit around on the couch and veg out.
Mm-hmm.
And so rather than just announcing this summer program for them, we partner with the Orlando Magic, sends a player out, and we get local high school teams to come out, and we do a media event. And when you've got the major professional team in town who coming out to be a part of the story, it changes it from just a gym opening for the summer for kids to a newsworthy celebration.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for us, we're always telling our teams to think bigger. Like, don't just put out a press release. Don't just pitch the product. What kind of story can we tell around the product?
Mm-hmm.
And it's basic, but it's so fundamental.
Well, as I was listening to it, I was just thinking, when you were talking about, Planet Fitness, you could even celebrate the fact that you've got seniors coming in, because the seniors are also always encouraged to get, exercise, so forth and so on. So maybe have a senior day at the Planet Fitness or something along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely.
Veterans.
And there's always a remarkable senior
Mm-hmm.
who's 90 years old or 100 years old and has been working out every day and is still there at the gym. And there's always a remarkable story if you dig hard enough.
Well, not only digging, but you can also plan. If you see, that there are veterans or there's a veterans association nearby, come up with a plan where the veterans can come in and then have a big event around that and, to help draw media attention. Particularly if they might have had some sort of accident, but they're still, maybe they've got a crutch or something, but they can go pull on things from their wheelchairs or something along those lines. Let people see those kinds of things happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Human interest. I mean, there's nothing better than human interest.
Mm-hmm. What would you consider one of your biggest and best successes in terms of a promotion, and how did you go about putting it together?
So we had a client who, I think a lot of times we'll look at a client and we'll go, and just as PR people, not our company, but just in general, you look at this client and you go, oh my God, how am I gonna get coverage for this? Right?
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Like, are you kidding me? So we had a client a few years back, and they were making drywall. So drywall is the stuff you bet it's your wall, basically.
Right.
And you cover it with paint and you never think about it again. And to me, one drywall is about the same as any other drywall. Well, apparently this drywall was they were pitching it as environmentally like sound drywall, which I don't know if anybody cares about that, but we started doing some research, and drywall is made of gypsum, and the production of gypsum is what we sort of found out was gypsum is what makes up 1% of carbon emissions in the world, which is actually higher than automobiles, right? So we started putting together like a campaign of facts around like the production of drywall and why it's harmful and why it's bad and why this company is going to change the game and is great. And I don't even know if we really believed that it was going to work, but we gave it our best. And the CEO of this drywall company said, here's the goal. I want to be on the cover of Inc. magazine, and I want to have the president at the opening of our factory. And we're like, are you kidding me? Like, you're a drywall company, right? They put it on the wall, they put paint on it, and they never think about it again. How are we going to do this? But we went after it, right? We went after it and tried to do it. And long story short, we got him the cover of Inc. magazine. He's on the cover of Inc. magazine, sitting on a stack of drywall and talking about how he's going to change the industry. And we used all that data to support the claims that they were making. And they opened a shuttered factory in Pennsylvania. And sure enough, Joe Biden was there at the opening, cutting the ribbon. So, I mean, somehow I think there are campaigns that I think are brought to you, whether it's brought to you as a manager of the company or you're on the team and you look at it and go, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But I think I've now learned that with creativity, there's not a bad client. It's just how willing are you to dig down and find the story, because everything's got a story. We even had a jar lid company that I was like, there's no way you make jar lids. And they made them easier for older people to open. I thought, well, if this client's on for 3 months, we've really done ourselves a real service. They were on for 9 years and had real success. It's crazy. You can't decide which clients are going to be successful just by looking at them.
Well, I was just thinking as I was listening to you some years ago when I was VP of Communications at a small university down in Nashville, Tennessee, I learned that their physics department had just signed a contract with the Air Force Research Laboratory to do A, B, C, and D, whatever I forget what it was going to do, and they wanted to get some media coverage. I said the same thing. Oh my goodness, whatever it was, it's just not earth-shattering, but I had to come up with something. So I decided, since I worked on Congress, I was going to have a signing ceremony. As you see, sometimes the president is out in the lawn and he signs each person signs the book and that sort of thing. Well, not only that, we had the university band come out there. We invited the mayor up and some people from city council up there. Flags. God, watch our flags. the whole thing. I
and they
mean,
bought
no,
it.
they sure did. Exchanging pens and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, sometimes you just have to. You're right. You can't panic when you hear about it the first time, but you got to sit around and think and come up with some creative ideas that make sense and can gain some traction with the media. It just takes a little time sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, and I think sometimes the biggest problem, maybe if you're newer at PR, sometimes you just get in a rut, and I think, or you think your idea is just that good, and maybe it is, but it just doesn't work, right? And so you hit that brick wall. You're driving a car and you hit a wall, and backing up the new player around that wall. They just keep going harder at that wall that's never going to come down, and they just waste time pitching that same thing that didn't work because they believed it was such a great pitch. Sometimes what you think is a great pitch, and maybe it is, just doesn't work. And the sooner you pivot and rework the pitch, the sooner you're going to get to coverage, because you can always get coverage. I don't care what it is, you can always get coverage, but you got to find the right pitch. And if you're stubborn and you think that your pitch is so good, and it's just they don't get it, they're never going to get it.
And there's nothing wrong about asking other people, what do you think about this? In some cases they might be outside of the PR industry. And, if what would it take to get you to come see X, Y, and Z or touch this or, want to be involved in? And, if you ask them, most people will tell you what it is. Well, I don't like this. I think if you did A, B, C, and D, I would really come and see that. So, sometimes you might have to reach beyond your circle to get the information that you believe is going to help generate much more attention.
Yeah, I love a focus group. And we have, at our company, we have brainstorms every day because you're on a team of 3 or 4 people, but our agency, it's about 60 people. And then if you go beyond the PR department and into all of our marketing, it's about 200 people. And so these people have undistorted view where you are in this every day. Sometimes you need, to your point, you need somebody who's not in this all day, every day to give you an outside view. So we try to get that from inside our company, but outside of our team. So we'll come in, we'll have a brainstorm, and we'll go, look, here's the problem. We've got this client. Here's what they do. Here's the issue. What do you guys think? And then all those 60 people will throw their ideas. There's no bad ideas. And almost every time we come up with something really good out of that brainstorm.
Well, I agree with you. If you can take somebody who would perhaps be one of your users of this event or service, what would they need to see or hear to get them to be very responsive or get really attracted to this thing? So, sometimes you might just take a survey on the street or something along those lines, just to reach people, as you said, who are not part of your circle.
Absolutely. And not only the people on the street, we have, a lot of companies will do this, but it's really like when you talk about creating the news story, we have clients will do our own survey. Now we don't perform it because then the data is not very reliable, but we'll use an outside source. Even if you use something as simple as SurveyMonkey, but you can go out and take a survey. You tell them how many people you want to poll and what industry you want to poll them, and you pay for the survey, and you get this data back. And all of a sudden it's the top 5 cities for X, Y, or Z are these 5 cities. Well, great. Now you can go to each of those 5 cities and go, hey, you were ranked number 1 top city for, young people who spend with a credit card, right? And then work your client into that pitch, or mortgages, or whatever it is, right? But you're one of the top cities. The local markets love that. They love when they're the top city for anything. or a Guinness record. Can you find a Guinness record that you could perform with your client's product? Or is there a national day? There's a national day for everything. whatever that national day is that fits your product. If you got a bagel client, National Bagel Day, right? Go have your client in all their markets. We'll pitch them National Bagel Day and come on with recipes for 6 different ways you can make bagel sandwiches or pizzas or whatever. You gotta try everything.
You know, I had forgotten all about that. There is just about a national day for everything.
Everything.
Well,
Everything.
now, have you ever had any sort of downward turn on any of your campaigns?
What's that?
Downward turn, something that maybe in the beginning, something that just did not go well. And so you had to back up or at the conclusion of it, take a survey and find out, you know, what did we do wrong with this one so that we won't repeat that again.
Yeah, I mean, and I think every PR person out there knows that there's a potential pothole around every corner, right? And I think what you learn over the years is that you really have to either make sure that everything has a check and a balance up the chain of command to the manager or director or VP or whoever is in charge, right? To make sure that something doesn't slip out, something doesn't go, the wrong version of a press release doesn't go out, whatever, right? Or if you can feel really, really solid that the person you have working on your campaign can handle that and doesn't need to be checked, great. But usually that's not the case. I mean, everyone makes mistakes, so the more checked, the better. But we've had instances where somebody just goes rogue, you know, or they're supposed to have it checked by the manager or the director or the VP, and they skip a step and they send it right. Sometimes they'll send it. Now, we haven't had this issue at our company, but I've seen it before where they'll just send the press release right to the wire service and put it out. Or a director, gets really busy and goes, oh, yeah, I didn't have time to review it, but I just, I send it to the wire. And what's crazy is the liability, and I think people forget this. You think like, oh, it's just PR. It's not that big a deal. And when you're launching a company, you're liable for everything they've spent on this company, because if you screw it up, if you say the wrong thing about one of their partners, if you and they feel like you've ruined their launch, you get sued for millions of dollars, millions. And it could be a really simple mistake. The key, I have been at an agency where something like that happened, where they put out a release. It was from like 3 versions ago, and it had all been fixed through with the client back and forth, but they sent the wrong version, and the version went out on the wire, and the company got sued. And fortunately, they had an umbrella policy that covered like $2 million. And I want to say that at the end of the day, they were able to save it, but still, like, there's so much liability there. And if I could say anything to eliminate stress for like a junior person or even the senior person, it's never forget to check and triple check the version of the release that you're putting out, to triple check the contents of everything you're doing, because at the end of the day, you're liable.
Well, I certainly agree with that should be the policy there. That maybe there's a circle of people who do it, but then there's a final person that it has to go through and get that particular person's stamp of approval before it goes out the door. So that should be inculcated into everybody's brain that make sure we do A, B, C, and D because we don't want the wheels to come off of this thing once it's out the door.
Yeah. It just takes one little mess up. That doesn't even seem like a big deal for it to all go off the rails.
Absolutely. So tell me, what would you consider your biggest success in any of the promotions that you made, and what made it such a success?
Wow, we've done a lot of promotions, a lot of companies. I don't know if the giant splash is always the biggest success, right? Like we've had a number of clients. I feel like the big TV win tends to be like the Today Show, right? You got them on a big national morning show. And we've had a lot of that. But to me, I think the biggest success is like we have, I'll give you for an example, we have a client called Kenyon Grills. They make amazing grills. And they're electric, but they cook like just like a charcoal grill or a propane grill. I mean, and probably better. I mean, the food it's amazing. And we started working with them when we started our company in 2011. And they are still on. They've grown like crazy. They've built, I think the biggest wins are how much longevity can you have with a client, and can you help them build a company from zero to really successful, right? Like we have a client that we started working with when they like launched. It's called Hyperice, and they make those massage guns, that are really popular at the gym.
Yeah.
And they make other products now as well. And they started with us. They were a Kickstarter campaign. Literally had no money. Like they were like, look, we're in the middle of this Kickstarter campaign. It's not doing well. We need you to come in and help us. And for us, I think for most PR people, Kickstarter campaigns are the worst. Media doesn't like them. The product isn't on the market yet. Maybe it will never come to market. It's a very hard thing to do. And we like tripled or quadrupled their Kickstarter goal. And they had money now to create this product. And so the CEO came back to us. He's like, look, you guys did a great job. We don't really have money to sign you guys, but we'd love for you to stay on, work with us, and grow with us. And we did. We were small too. And I mean, we built, and they built an amazing product, and we built a really great PR campaign, and they hit $1 billion.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, they became $1 billion company, and they're super successful now. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's something to really be proud of. Just seeing the growth, like you forget, I think, as a PR person, that while it may just be a press release to you, or it may just be another client to you, to them, it's someone's dream. And you either are going to make their dream fail, or you're going to make their dream come true. And I think if you can help somebody take their dream and make it a huge success, I don't think there's a better feeling.
Well, I certainly agree with you on that, and I think I've had a few of those myself. And there's nothing like it being on the front end of seeing somebody that succeeded, and you had a hand in it. Nothing better than that. Well, Mike, let me ask you if you've got any sort of closing remarks for our audience.
Well, I don't know. I mean, look, I feel like I've been doing this a while now, and I just, I think, remember why you got into it, because if you don't love it, then it's a long, hard slog to get through a life of PR. But if you do love it, it's, I mean, helping, like we just talked about, helping someone achieve their dream. I just think it's an amazing feeling, and you can help people in a lot of ways, but I think in PR you have a real opportunity to help people and change lives, and I think sometimes in the day-to-day we forget that, right? It just feels like, oh, we're doing another press release, doing another going through the motions, but your emotions are their dreams. And so treat it like that, and I think you get a much bigger feeling and a much bigger reward out of the day-to-day.
Good. Well, Mike, let me say I thank you so very, very much for being on the podcast today. And, you provided a lot of valuable information to our listeners, and I'm sure they're going to appreciate it. And to my listeners, I hope that you do take some of Mike's advice and move forward on your next process. And also continue to listen to the Public Relations Review podcast and share this with your friends. So thank you very much for listening, and join us for the next edition of the Public Relations Review podcast.
Thank you for joining us on the Public Relations Review podcast. We invite you to share this episode with your friends and colleagues, and we greatly appreciate your reviews and feedback, which help us improve and grow. The Public Relations Review podcast is produced by Peter Woolfolk in the Washington, D.C. suburb of Silver Spring, Maryland. Thank you for listening, and please share this podcast with your colleagues.
Hello, this is Peter Woolfolk. First, let me say thank you so much for being a listener. Now, I want to alert you to our shiny new podcast website located at podpage.com. However, you can go directly to the podcast site located at publicrelationsreviewpodcast.com. There, you can contact me through email. You can leave a voice message. You can leave a review. You can read an episode blog and frequently learn about the podcast guests. You might also want to suggest podcast topic ideas or even suggest a guest. You can also let me know if you would like to receive our podcast listener logo that you can post on your social media. So I look forward to hearing from you about our new podcast website. Thank you so much for listening to the Public Relations Review podcast, and have a great day.